Imagine this. It's the dead of night. A soft knock at your door pulls you from your sleep. Peering outside, you see two children standing motionless in the darkness. At first glance, they seem ordinary, harmless even. But something isn't right. Their eyes, pitch black, like endless voids. A chill crawls down your spine as an overwhelming sense of dread settles in. Who are they? What do they want? And what will happen if you let them in? The black-eyed children, also known as black-eyed kids, are a mysterious phenomenon that has surfaced in reports since the 1990s. Today, they are among the most chilling modern legends. Many accounts describe unsettling encounters with children whose eyes are entirely black, void of irises or pupils. Countless eyewitness reports and stories surround this eerie anomaly, evoking both mystery and dread. The first known mention of the black-eyed children dates back to 1996, when American journalist Brian Bethel shared a disturbing encounter in an online forum. His account is widely regarded as the origin of the phenomenon, which later spread rapidly across social media and paranormal communities. Bethel recounted how one evening in Abilene, Texas, he was sitting in his car when two children, somewhere between 9 and 16 years old, knocked on his window, asking for help. Their skin was unnaturally pale, and their eyes were completely black. An overwhelming sense of dread and danger gripped him. When he refused to open the door, the children mysteriously vanished. He described one of them as red-haired, with pale skin and freckles, while the other had dark, curly hair and an olive complexion. But their eyes, he said, were empty, black voids, like two enormous orbs of a starless night. The black-eyed children are typically described as being between 6 and 16 years old. They appear suddenly in remote places, at doors and windows, beside parked cars, or deep within abandoned areas, always with the same unsettling request:
"Let us in, give us access to what is yours."
But those who grant their request may not just be opening a door, they may be unlocking something far more sinister. Their most distinctive and most unsettling feature is their pitch black, unnaturally large eyes, completely devoid of irises or pupils. This eerie trait heightens their ominous and otherworldly presence. Their skin is often described as unnaturally pale or sickly, further enhancing their unsettling appearance. Witnesses frequently report that black-eyed children appear in pairs, speaking in a flat, monotone voice and showing no emotion. Many describe an overwhelming sense of dread or panic in their presence, as if an unnatural force is at work. These children tend to materialize without warning, making seemingly harmless requests, asking to enter a home, a car, or to use a phone. Some accounts suggest that their demeanor becomes increasingly insistent, even aggressive, when their requests are denied or met with hesitation. Their behavior is often described as odd and unnatural, with many witnesses noting that they seem to lack an understanding of normal human interactions. One of the most unsettling aspects of encounters with the black-eyed children is the overwhelming sense of fear and impending danger that witnesses consistently describe. Even those who never directly interact with them often report an uncontrollable urge to escape or end the encounter as quickly as possible. A recurring theme in these accounts is the unnerving conviction that these children are not just strange, but that they embody something dark, something beyond the natural world. Accounts of this mysterious phenomenon stretch back over a century. Reports seem to follow a pattern: periods of heightened activity, followed by long intervals, of eerie silence, only for the sightings to return once more. The legend of the black-eyed children may have roots in various cultural and mythological traditions. Here are some possible origins. Supernatural entities. Some believe the black-eyed children are ghosts or demonic beings disguised in human form, seeking entry into homes or vehicles. This theory is supported by the disturbing and unnerving nature of their encounters. Vampire-like beings. The notion that these children must ask for permission before entering bears a striking resemblance to classic vampire folklore. Traditionally, vampires cannot cross a threshold without an invitation, an unsettling parallel to the behavior of the black-eyed children. Alien or hybrid entities. Some theories suggest a connection between the black-eyed children and extraterrestrial or hybrid beings. Their pitch-black eyes may hint at a non-human origin, reminiscent of the gray aliens, frequently described in UFO encounters. Psychological phenomena. The 1990s marked a boom in urban legends and horror stories, driven by the rapid expansion of the internet. The rise of such tales may have been fueled by collective fears and an increasing fascination with the supernatural. Over time, reports of encounters with the black-eyed children continued to emerge. These accounts spread quickly across social media and online forums, often featuring a set of recurring patterns. The children appear either alone or in pairs, which only heightens their unsettling presence. These encounters are often brief but profoundly disturbing. In many cases, the children insist on being let in. A common thread in these accounts is their sudden, inexplicable disappearance, vanishing without a trace, further deepening the mystery surrounding them. During our research, we uncovered numerous compelling reports from people around the world. They recount chilling encounters with the black-eyed children, stories that have spread across social media, forums, and books on the paranormal, continuing to raise more questions than answers to this day. A woman in Vermont reported being home alone one night when, around 2 a.m., a sudden knock at the door startled her. Outside, a fierce snowstorm raged, and she wondered who could possibly be out in such weather at this hour. Cautiously, she approached the door and peered through the peephole. Standing outside were 2 children, a boy and a girl, who appeared to be around 8 to 10 years old. They wore thin, old-fashioned clothing, completely unsuited for the freezing cold. The children claimed they were lost and asked to be let inside to contact their parents. The woman described an overwhelming sense of fear gripping her, despite the children's polite and calm demeanor. When she turned on the light and looked closer, her stomach dropped, their eyes were completely black. Panic surged through her, and she instantly slammed the door shut, but the knocking didn't stop. It continued, persistent, relentless, until she finally shouted that she was calling the police. Then, suddenly, silence. When she finally gathered the courage to look outside, the children were gone, vanished without a trace. Even in the freshly fallen snow, there were no footprints. A gas station employee reported that he was working alone one night when 2 children suddenly walked in. Something about them felt immediately off. Their skin was eerily pale, and they wore old-fashioned, almost Victorian-style clothing. Without hesitation, they approached him directly and asked to use his phone. An inexplicable sense of dread crept over him. As he looked into their faces, his stomach dropped, their eyes were completely black. A wave of panic surged through him, and he instinctively refused their request. But the children didn't back down. They repeated their request, their voices growing more insistent. Finally, the boy spoke in a slow, monotone voice.
"We need to make a call. Let us use your phone, and we will leave you alone."
Terror took hold. The man yelled at them and bolted into the back room. After several minutes, he cautiously returned, only to find the station empty. The children were gone. Later, he reviewed the security footage. What he saw chilled him to the core. There was no sign of the children, no footage of them leaving, as if they had never been there at all. A delivery driver recounted a chilling experience while traveling down a desolate country road late one stormy night. Through the heavy rain, he spotted 3 children standing by the roadside, their hands raised as if pleading for help. Concerned for their safety, he pulled over. It was a freezing, stormy night, and the children looked completely vulnerable. But as he rolled down his window, an unsettling detail caught his attention. The children weren't wearing coats, nor did they have umbrellas. Their clothing looked strangely outdated, as if from another time. In calm, measured voices, the children asked for a ride home. But as the driver met their gaze, A jolt of terror struck him. All three had completely black eyes. An overwhelming sense of dread seized him. Without a second thought, he rolled up the window and sped off. Later he glanced in his rearview mirror. The children were still standing there silent, motionless in the rain. They didn't run after him. They didn't react at all. They simply watched. One evening, a family in Ohio heard an unexpected knock at their door. When the father opened it, he found two children standing on the porch. They appeared to be around 10 years old, their skin unsettlingly pale. Their hooded jackets cast shadows over their faces, partially obscuring their features. In quiet, measured voices, the children said they needed to come inside. They were looking for their parents. A strange sense of unease settled over the father, though he couldn't explain why. When his wife joined him, she too felt uneasy. Then one of the children lifted its head. The mother gasped in horror. Its eyes were completely black. She let out a frightened cry. The children shifted, growing restless, their voices becoming more insistent. "Let us in," they urged, pressing harder. But the family refused. The father quickly shut the door, locking it tight. For several minutes, the children lingered outside, standing eerily still. Then without a sound, they were gone, vanished without a trace. The next morning, the family discovered that their pets, a dog and a cat, had suddenly fallen gravely ill. It took weeks for them to fully recover. A man recalled a terrifying experience while camping alone in the forest one night. As he lay in his tent, strange noises outside startled him awake. Peering out, he spotted two children standing just beyond his campsite. They were completely still, staring directly at him. In flat, emotionless voices, they asked to come inside, claiming they were lost. An immediate sense of unease settled over him. Something felt terribly wrong. When he reached for his flashlight and shone it on their faces, his stomach dropped. Their eyes were completely black. A surge of panic overtook him. Without hesitation, he bolted from the tent and ran straight to his car, parked nearby. He jumped inside, started the engine, and sped off into the night. Later he reported the incident to the authorities. They searched the area thoroughly. But there was no sign of the children, no footprints, no evidence they had ever been there. The legend of the black-eyed children has grown into one of the most eerie and compelling modern mysteries. Whether they are a supernatural phenomenon, an urban legend, or a trick of the human mind remains uncertain. But one thing is undeniable: the oppressive atmosphere and chilling effect of these encounters make them unforgettable. Some say these mysterious beings are drawn to those who dwell too deeply on their stories, whether by reading, listening, or watching. So, a word of caution: tonight lock your doors and windows, just in case.